Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the OnAire Podcast. We're here in the studios. The lights are on. The mics are hot. We're back. Episode 16.
Episode 16.
Here we go. This time we are interviewing Steven Kilger, editor of Feed and Grain magazine.
Yeah, it is really cool because we talk about it with him, but like we're new to the industry, and being able to talk to somebody who like writes the stuff that we read to learn about the industry is really neat. And I don't know, we've read plenty of his articles, so it's kind of nice to put a name to a face and everything.
Yeah, I love his fascination and he's just so, what's the word?
He's a student. He's eager to learn.
He is.
It's really cool seeing somebody just with that hunger because he didn't want to like be a grain writer growing up. And so to get into the industry, dig in, meet the people, learn how they talk, how they walk, the facilities, the processes.
He's curious.
He is. Yeah.
That's the word.
High fact finder.
Yes, very high fact finder. So it's great to know that the people writing those articles are that way so that we can be that way through them. Kind of.
Yeah, I thought they were just all AI robots. Honestly.
Right.
The fact finder of all fact finders.
That's right. So some interesting information, some great insight into what's going on in the feed and grain industry. And we're excited to just still be learning every day.
Yeah, it's good to know that the people out there, especially covering the industry and writing about like, the good things and the bad things are on the same page about like a lot of the challenges that we see and face are preventable.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like, here's the good things that we're doing. And like, these are the things that we should like dig in on and push and challenge. So yeah, it was a great conversation.
I'm excited for the industry. I mean, the industry is producing more and more and more every single day, every single year with every crop. And so that's exciting to see, especially what we're doing here in America and how we're feeding the world.
Yeah, it's a good place to be when like the problem is now like, how do we like get better at the front end and the back end? Like we're nailing the growing, we're nailing the processing, but like we could feed the world if we could just figure out how to get there.
Yeah.
So that's an exciting place to be.
Yeah. All right. Stick around. Here we go. Hey, Steven, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. It's really weird being on this side of things, but it's a fun experience.
Yeah, usually you're the one asking all the questions.
Yeah, I don't know how to not ask questions. I might have questions for you guys while we're here.
Send it. Yeah, love it. So this is great. This is good that we're getting the chance to sit down and talk with yet another expert from the food and grain industry. So if you don't already know, Steven is the managing editor at Feed and Grain magazine. And so that's been a great resource for us.
Oh, yeah.
We want to know what's going on because we are kind of removed from that industry in the sense that we're new and we're trying to get our foot in the door and we're trying to help facilities all across the country and the world, but we are rookies. And so we're not in it every day, and so we don't know what's going on. And so we rely on you to give us a pulse of what's going on in that industry.
Yeah, I mean, I always flinch at the term expert, even though I've been covering the industry for 13 years now, I think. Mainly because when I became a journalist, I always was like, oh, what do I want to do, right? Like, what do I want to do with my life? And for a while, I was like, oh, I'll be a literature professor, something like that. That's what I'll do. And then got into the publishing and the reporting side. So, and the reason I did it is because this is going to sound a lot weird to a lot of people, but like I always really liked like the research and writing side of my student career. Like I liked writing papers. I know that's a strange thing to do, but like I did. So I basically picked a career where I'm going to stay a student because that's what my entire job is, talking to people, trying to figure out what's going on in the industry and how to best present that to a readership so that they can also, know what's going on in the industry without having to spend hours and hours searching like I do every day.
Yeah, that's really interesting, especially for two guys who use letters more for math than writing or anything else like that. So hearing somebody that's into that is just kind of polar opposite of who we are. But so, I mean, zooming back even further than that, like what got you into writing and literature? I mean, were you like I read a lot as a kid. And is that what pushed you that way? Or was it just the newsy side, the journalism? What was it?
Yeah. Well, so it's a weird. I mean, I think with a lot of people, I mean, I don't know many people these days that like did what they wanted to do when they were a child. You know, I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure it happens. But like most people, I think I just kind of, you fall into what you end up doing really and just find that you like it there and you're okay with it. So I started, for a while, I was big into reading, big into writing when I was younger. For a long time, I'm like, this is what I'm good at. This is what I can do, right? This is what I should do. And so I went to English and for an English degree in college because in my mind, you know, you like writing, you get an English degree, and then you know, become pretty much a teacher, or you don't work in the field. It's pretty much the options. And then I was even more, I'm like, oh, I'll do literature, romantic literature from the, you know, 1890s. That'll be a good, profitable field.
Yeah, that'll be
sophomore year, though, I finally got my head out of my butt and decided, like, maybe I want to make some money throughout my entire life. So I started looking into the publishing side of things, switched my major over to book publishing and editing. Then I finally got an internship at Feed and Grain. So Feed and Grain, my like only adult job. So they were like nice enough. They took me in. They happened to lose somebody right as I was like at the end of that internship. So there was suddenly a job opening for me. So I went into that. I found that this industry is very welcoming, very kind. I'm from rural Wisconsin originally. Like, these are my people. I can talk to them. I can chat with them. They're open. They're honest with you. They will tell you if you're giving them any crap. Like, they're not afraid to let you know. They're not afraid to be honest. So that always really attracted to me. And then I started to like realize that I could write about anything. And the part I enjoyed about writing more than actually putting words to paper was learning about whatever I'm writing about. So I've just kind of kept doing that. And that's kind of how I ended up here.
I love it. Yeah, you're talking about that industry, and that's been our experience as well. Mm-hmm. We work in a lot of different industries, and so we go to a lot of different trade shows, and each trade show and industry has its own little culture and kind of how it operates and sort of thing. But yeah, we both grew up in a more rural community here in North Carolina, and so going to the Jeeps trade show and things like that are a lot of fun because you get to shake hands with real salt of the earth people that are the ones that actually do the work. And it's pretty great.
Yeah. It's like, I recognize these kind of people. These are farmers, like different area, different style. Our area is not so good on like the straightforward honesty. We will beat around the bush and talk around you and everything. But other than that, it is like a homegrown group of folks.
There's literally dust on their boots when they walk into the
oftentimes they could dress up a little more. No, it's the nice thing about Jeeps, because even, I mean, and trade show culture in general, I think has gotten a lot more casual since the pandemic and stuff. Because I remember, especially for another trade show we go to for the industry, IPPE. I don't know if you guys have been there, but I was told like, this is much more formal. You should probably have a jacket on and a button up when I first started. And now I still try to dress up nicely for both shows because, you know, I'm there for work. But I'm like, I could probably get away with jeans today. Like, I could get away with that. And that's nice. I think if you're in the right industry, if you're in an industry where you can go to a professional show in jeans, I think that's just the right choice to make.
Love it. Yeah, I like the jeans and sport coat kind of look. I can get away with that.
Yeah. Especially with them. It is definitely the vibes there.
Yeah. So you just kind of fell into this industry then.
Yeah, very much so.
Opened and you just kind of jumped right into it.
Yeah, it worked out. I mean, it's B2B publishing, what we do, which is a little different than normal publishing. It's a little more, if you want to go into the publishing world, it's a lot more stable than in a lot of other regions in publishing. So it was a steady job that I could do well. I didn't have to move to New York or do anything like that to try to make it big. So it all like worked out on that end. And then I just ended up realizing like, no, I can really like what I do. Like, the industry is I happen to end up liking it. It's weird. Like you find yourself caring about whatever you have to immerse yourself in all the time, right? So at first, when I started this job, no idea what a grain elevator was, no idea what a feed mill it was. Saw those buildings on the side of the road, thought they'd probably be good, like hot base if you had a zombie apocalypse things. They're giant and they're concrete, so not a lot of entry points. So that's good to know in the future. But like, no idea. And now, like, you can't help but go down the road and be like, oh, soybeans are a little weak here, a little dry, must not be getting enough moisture. And you kind of get into that mode of things, and you end up finding yourself really caring about this industry that you had no idea about beforehand.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because I had absolutely an aversion to airflow and fans and things like that when I was in engineering school. But after being here and working with the product and the people, I see how what I believe are my God-given gifts and skills and the things I really like about engineering and people management and things like that, how it all comes together. And you're like, oh, fans is just the conduit. Like,
yeah. For sure. It is all about like kind of merging like kind of your gifts with where you're at. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, let me tell you something. I was not looking for a job in dust control. That's for sure.
What? Wasn't your childhood dream? I wanted to be a zookeeper.
I was trying to be on that rocket ship that went around the other day. So,
yeah.
But here I am.
Yeah. I wanted to be a truck driver, but here I am living my best life.
So we've talked a little bit about, you getting into the grain industry and what you've seen from there, but just kind of give us what's the overview of the grain industry right now? What's going on? What are the challenges? What are we seeing in these areas outside of that soybean field needs a little bit more tender love and care?
Well, yeah, we are tracking weather right now. We're in planting season, so that's a big one. It's really our issue right now is unpredictability, right? Like no one knows what's happening. Luckily, like most of the row crops and stuff where those are grown, most like fertilizer has been bought for this season. But like there's parts of the country where that's really not a guarantee. There's same with like facility builds and stuff. Like it's hard to make those like invest in 20 million, 30 million, 200 million feed mill or 200 million soybean crush facility when you have no idea how much concrete's going to be the next year. So like that's a big one. But hopefully all that gets, worked out. There are people working on that. Hopefully this is a blip. The long-term ones are stuff like employment challenges, right? It's hard to find people that kind of want to do this type of work, especially for where you tend to start out in these fields. So unless you went to school for it, you're probably going to start out at the bottom of the ladder, which just means you're going to have to put in a lot of physical labor. Depending on where your feed mill's or grain elevator is located, it's probably going to be kind of hot and unpleasant work a lot of the time. It's dusty. Guys come in with the dust on their boots. It just is dusty work. And even when you move on from that to management, you're going to have that. But it's hard work. It's, I think, a field that's vastly overestimated by people that like you can grow in this field. Like this is one of the industries that you could get in and not have a college degree, and you could get hired at a grain elevator and they will slowly promote you when they find you're a hard worker, and you can like end up managing them and going on it's there, but it's really hard for us to draw in labor. So that's why you see a lot of push for trying to reduce labor costs through technology and stuff like that. The other one is just kind of grain markets in general. Obviously, like, where does this grain go? So we want to keep growing more and more every year. We want to keep increasing our bushel yields, but we're starting to run into issues where, well, Brazil also wants to do that. They want to compete with that market, and they're taking a lot of market share from, China and Asian countries and a bunch of other things. So like that's a challenge. Personally, we make the best crops in the world. Like that's America does. We make the best corn. We make the best soybean in the world. We have the most efficient system at it, but we are fighting for that market share. There are other ways we're trying to kind of get around that by, increasing blends for biodiesel for soybeans, for example, ethanol for corn. supplementing our gas. But like for long-term things, we kind of have to figure out how we can market what we can produce, which is quite frankly enough food to feed not only ourselves, but most of the world at this point. How do we get that into the hands of other countries who can't grow that kind of thing, don't have the land, don't have the right climate for it? And that's kind of our big struggle. We're going to keep growing more and more grain. Where do we get it? How do we store it for long enough, obviously, to keep it going? Where that kind of part in the chain it goes. But those are like the big ones that I can think of right now is unpredictability in the market. We don't really know. It's hard to invest in capital. It's hard to invest in the facilities you need right now just because you don't know where things are. And then you go into finding workers, finding the right employment. Either that or updating your facility so it can run with less employers, which is like something you guys could I think that's actually a big selling point of your product is like, oh, this cuts down on the cleaning time you need for stuff. And that's a huge labor sink. Like if you're cleaning your facility right, that's hours every day that's taken out of your workload to clean up.
So if we go back to the storage issue that you mentioned just a moment ago. So one of the elevator operators that we've talked to back in the fall, he said, we're putting grain on the ground. Like there's nowhere to store the grain that's coming in out of the harvest. Do you see that as a problem across the country, just storage capacity? And then is that the rub you're talking about building new facilities?
It is. So yeah, we're just producing huge crops every single year. Like this year, supposedly there is a big drought in the West. The Midwest is really soggy right now. But that's probably like, it's been like that for years and it hasn't had that big of effect. We're really good at farming. We're really good at producing grain. So we keep producing more and more of it. We're getting better at it. Hybrids are making it more possible. Crop quality is just making it more possible. So there's just this huge influx every single year. And if we don't have immediate markets to ship that out to, you store it.
Yeah.
Every storage has costs though. It has both the costs to run fans to keep it cool, even in the best conditions. You are going to get shrinkage from that. So it's going to weigh less and be less valuable at the end of it. You have bug infestation, rodent infestation, just tons of other costs. You got to fumigate. So ideally, your grain goes to a shuttle loader and it is immediately off to whatever market needs it. But that's just not the way it works. It's a lot of the times. Those markets takes time. They want to buy when they want to buy. So you end up with a situation where elevators have given this kind of choice of like, well, do we dump it on the ground here? Do we let farmers? You don't really want a farmer or producer to dump it on the ground at their place and then sell it to you later, because while some have a lot of farm storage, it's not their job to manage grain quality, right? Like that's not their full-time thing. So yes, they'll lose more storing it on site on a farm, whether in a ground or in a bin, than you would in a grain elevator, who are monitoring the aeration the entire time. And the way that people are kind of getting around it now is you're seeing a big influx in more what we would have once considered kind of temporary storage. So those are like those big tarps, ground piles, those things. But those are getting so much more advanced than they were even 10 years ago when I was in the industry. They now have, you used to have to keep the fans on all the time to kind of keep the tarp down, and you'd lose a lot of moisture that way. They now have automatic fans that do the same kind of sensing. You see some of these new like hoop buildings, and they actually seem nicer than grain bins a lot of the time because they're these giant buildings with piles of grain, but you can walk above it on a catwalk and you can look down to see what you have, and there's all this natural light from the clear tarp. So like those are becoming a much more viable option. And you saw that for a while, like as people moved away from concrete silos to steel bins, and now we're kind of going into even this less costly era of storage. And I think that's really where we're going to make up this gap of piles on the ground, because you really, really just don't want that. That's bad for the grain. You're going to sell it for less, and it's, exposed to everything.
Man. So is that where you see a lot of the let's call it technology or innovation in the industry going into things like that? Because from our standpoint, it's an industry that's very slow to adopt new technology, new processes, new anything. They've been, doing the same thing, kind of the same way for 100 years. So it's always been working. And so,
it is one of the reasons, like on our own podcast, I love to talk to technology people and stuff, because it is an industry that's really slow to adopt sometimes. I mean, they're farmers, a lot of them at heart. They keep it going. It's still got some life into it. You just got to smack her the right way on the side, and it'll start up again, and you'll be fine. Like, why are we getting a new pellet mill? Right. And so a lot of any new technology's job is to kind of sell itself. Like, why is it valuable to the industry? And even then, it's gonna be a struggle. So a lot of stuff like grain bin monitoring, aeration, that's been big with technology, automation, AI, it all kind of gets rolled up into one right now. Mm-hmm. There's been this weird dream since I've been in the industry of a lights off facility, a facility where you don't have to have anybody there, and a truck driver can drive up to the kiosk and get their ticket. It'll unload for them. They can drive off in a route. It's still not there. It's been a dream for a long time. People say it might with AI. I'm not 100% sure of that, but we'll see. So, and even when it is there, like you said, they're pretty slow to adopt. So it's going to be another 20 years before it's common across the industry, even if we could do it. And so, a lot of that kind of automation technology that's going into where we can save grain, where we can aerate grain. It's the main thing that they do. We're also seeing some in lots of transportation, accounting things, stuff that you would have thought was standard. Like, you should be able to email a PDF of a ticket to a driver rather than have to staple the receipt and mail it in the mail. That has taken a really long time to adopt, but we're starting to see a lot more of. Finally starting to see people actually have everything on an app now where you can kind of scroll through and get all your payments and stuff that way. But it's kind of a interesting thing where if you look at where the industry is right now, it's probably where other industries were 10 years ago and probably should be where they are. But we're kind of slow. We're cautious to take on the uptake. I mean, people still need to eat, and the system we have works really well. It just, I think it's really important that people like you, people like me, continue to beat the drum that it's better to get in front of these problems before they happen, right? It's better to not need those employees before you're at the point where you can't find them anymore and you have to limit shifts or whatever. It's, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, as they say. And so it is that thing of no, this will be better for you. This will be better for the industry. And I want as many grain elevators and companies to stay in business as possible. And sometimes that involves investing in technology that has an upfront cost that you don't want to spend, but will help you in the long run.
You guys are at least ahead of the IRS. Unfortunately, I had to talk to them recently. No email. Could not email them. You have to fax them. I had no idea.
That's wild. Whoa. So, on that similar note, I purchased something today, actually, and the person was like, "Oh, our printer's down, so I can't get this gift receipt for you or whatever." They're like, "But don't worry, it's in your email." And I was like, "Okay, I'm ready to give you my email whenever you're ready." And they're like, No, it's already sent. I'm like, "I didn't give you my information. What are you talking about?" And sure enough, I opened it up and I had it in my email because somehow it was linked to my card and it zapped it back and forth. And I was like, that's kind of terrifying. That was very convenient, but terrifying. But anyways, so we've been talking about technology. We're kind of in that category and trying to push those areas, but we're focused on dust, obviously. And dust has all kind of connotations in the grain world. It's kind of the hidden but known evil out there. So what are you seeing in grain facilities as it relates to dust control? What's working? What's not working? What are the operators missing on? What are you seeing?
And what's the attitude around dust in the industry as well?
The industry tends to be pretty anti-regulation, at least when it comes to dust control. Obviously, everyone knows dust control is best practice. They should be cleaning after every shift. They should be not letting. I mean, it's weird how different two older mills are versus like a newer feed mill, or an older elevator versus a newer elevator. You get these, and where you're located, but you get this situation where you like, have you guys ever been to a mill that's like had a renovation, and so they have like half of the old mill on one side and then they have their new stuff on the other side, and you walk in and you can see like the night and day difference between the dust control of just the two sides. And it is, so it's like mill design, dust control in general has improved a great deal over the last 20 years, 30 years, who knows exactly how long, but it is still a struggle. And it's a struggle in a lot of part because people don't have the staff to do it, right? We'd all love to spend 2 hours cleaning every day. We'd love to sweep up, getting up, like you guys do great because you eliminate this problem. But like getting up into the nooks and crannies where that 2-inch of dust can easily accumulate over the course of a few weeks and months, that's a big operation in a mill. It is not easy to get up there. It is not easy to clean any of that stuff. It involves like a huge expenditure of man hours. And really, that's like the big thing. That's the big conflict, I think, in dust control in the industry right now, is the need to expend man hours versus the need to get it done. Because no one wants a dust explosion at the end of the day. Yeah. No one wants that. But it happens still. Still happens multiple times every single year. People die from it. And your reasoning of like, well, you're just kind of busy. Like, we didn't have time. We kind of let it slack. We didn't have the logs done. Like, that's a lot. It's not really an excuse at the end of the day when OSHA comes and they're like, well, what happened here? And they realized you hadn't, done a deep clean of your facility, or you hadn't in months and months, and you let everything accumulate. Especially feed mills where there's like equipment that's constantly moving and running. Grain elevators, you have more of an issue with unloading and loading of trucks. There are, we've all seen the big bag filter things that you can get. I first remember them outside of my woods class, but they're there. Those are big industrial vacuums with filters. And those work fine for those applications where it's hooked up, right, to control dust. They help. But when it comes to like just the like constant cleaning and maintenance that a facility needs, we're just running out of the people to be able to do that on a day-to-day.
Yeah. You were talking about the events that happen every year. I think it was yesterday. I was on the Feed and Grain website, and probably an article you wrote about the Purdue explosion in Eastern North Carolina, not too far from us here, and saw that they're deciding just to demolish the whole facility. Aside from the injuries and the loss of life, let's just talk about just the building and the facility. Right. They've lost the whole facility. Yep. And they're having to like shuffle production to other places in the area just to keep going, because chickens still got to eat.
Yeah. And we do too. So.
Yeah. There's that.
Yeah. I mean, you see the images after a dust explosion. They're terrible. It's a huge amount of force. And a lot of these, there's another one that happened this year. I don't remember who. I shouldn't say a company name if I don't remember it exactly, but they had this explosion. They ended up needing to tear down too. And they had recently just like invested in upgrades and stuff. So they had they invested millions of dollars into this facility to renovate it and upgrade it, just to have a dust explosion basically wipe out all of that progress. That's when I talk about, that ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's that, right? Like that seems like an easy thing to skip at the time, but then if something actually does happen, it can end up just costing you so much in your business so much.
Yeah.
We talk about all the time where it's like, yes, it sucks. Yes, it's expensive, but it's so much better than the alternative. And I mean, we're on the prevention side, and that's always the tough sell. It's like, well, you're not even going to like fix the problem today. And I'm like, yes, but you are saving on your labor. That's what you've been talking about so much recently, where just like getting the people to do it. Our buddy in the grain industry, he was like, I'm lucky to get somebody with a pulse. He's like, let alone somebody that wants to come up here and clean. So
and is going to actively clean when they're not busy doing something else, right? They're not going to just go into the control room and hang out. No, they're like those people. It's hard to find, and it's not fair to ask managers to constantly be hounding your employees to have to clean and stuff. It's their job, but like it's fun. And then if you go to the South, like it's also a contamination issue. A lot of dust stuff. We talk about the explosions, and it gets the most. But I mean, African swine fever. How does that transfer? Transfer on dust between facilities.
Wow. Whoa.
Like, yeah, like there's stuff about like having you have your wheels washed and stuff after you ever go, because that's how that stuff travels. Like same with most diseases. Like, and if you're in the South or a place with humidity, leaving that dust on the ground or on your machines, you start to get that like filmy gunk that's impossible to remove completely. There's just so much, and then that just holds bacteria. It's perfect food for like I was talking to a pest control person about this. We live in like rodents and bugs ideal, like we work in their ideal environment. It's a ton of very easily accessible food just everywhere with lots of nooks and crannies to hide in. Like, so you forget that dust is food particles. So it also sustains those creatures. It helps them live. So there's just all these like little things that you don't even think about when it comes to how we clean our facilities and how we control dust. That there's a lot big. It's a lot more than just, there might be a dust explosion too.
OnAire Pest Control.
Yeah.
What's going on the website? Let's go.
I don't know if I want to get into that one. Like, that's not my favorite area to delve.
Right, I love researching it. I'm like, we're doing rat birth control now? Okay, that's interesting.
I was at the Jeeps Expo about 10 or 12 years ago when they started talking about that. We had a lot of jokes.
Yeah, more and more now. You find it all over the place. Yeah. It's another interesting thing about working in the industry is you get to kind of see that as it goes by, that from the first announced brand new thing, and then it slowly, sometimes frustratingly slowly becomes standard across the industry. So,
oh my God, that's us. We're still in that frustratingly slowly part.
It is frustrating. I know our industry is what it is. I love them. They're great people. They're kind. If you ever get a chance to talk to them, they're open and honest and will talk to you for all day, but they're also like, they're not going to give you a ton of feedback. They're not going to be like, try sending out a survey to grain elevator managers and you get them to respond. It's really hard to do. So it can be half of the struggle of covering the industry, and half of the struggle for companies like you is just like, what do these guys want? How can I market to them that they actually listen to me and want to do this? It's a challenge. Well, one we know very well.
Yeah, Betsy's behind the camera crying. She's making marketing, and she's like, she gets it. Yeah.
Yeah. When you send out, 20,000 surveys and you get 20 back, and you're like, you guys couldn't have helped more with this.
Up. I want the smiley face button pressed, please.
Gift cards.
But it's part of their charm. At least these podcasts aren't getting a ton of hateful comments under them or anything like that. People listen to them and then they move on. There's some industries where you can't say anything without having a million people jump down your throat. So that's nice at least. But yeah, some feedback be nice. Yeah. It could help.
Anybody out there? Anybody listening? So where do you see the industry going? Where's it going next? Where's technology going to take it?
Sure.
Very slowly.
Very slowly. We'll move into it. There's going to be a lot of like efficiency gains from LLMs, AI, that kind of thing, especially on the back end, accounting, logistics, traceability, that kind of stuff is really designed for that. Feed formulations, if you're in the feed industry. Mm-hmm. I don't think we're going to go away from a people-oriented business, though. There's too much physical labor involved. There's too much like thinking you actually have to do on the job to problem solve things. But that's going to cut down a lot on labor. I could see the industry in the future eventually being like rotating staff. So you have a bunch of people in an area, and most of what you can do, you can manage on your phone. And then you have, engineers or maintenance people go from facility to clean up or make sure stuff's working. I could see that easily happening within the next 10, 20 years. And then other than that, it's all going to be about where these commodities go. So can we keep increasing ethanol blends? Can we keep increasing biodiesel blends? Probably not. I know there's some people in the corn industry that will get really mad at me for saying that, but ultimately, we're using less fuel than we used to. People are having more efficient cars. There's just less of a reason to blend. Also, there's been a lot of pushback against the industry for a bunch of reasons. Some of them very, very unfair. Like, I think personally, fuel security in our own country is good. And even though ethanol still might produce, emissions and stuff like that, I'm always a big proponent of don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Mm-hmm. So it's better than a lot of alternatives, and it keeps us secure. So I think it'll stick around, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be around forever. It was never really meant to be. It was always meant to be kind of a stopgap. So that's, 50% of the corn market right now, 50%. I don't have that exact number. If people out there, you can yell at me, email me later, but it's a huge percent of the market that's buying up domestic usage of corn. That's, good for now, won't be here forever. We need to figure that out. We need to figure out how we can trade grains more efficiently around the world. Because like I said, we can feed everybody. We just got to get it to them. Yeah. There's no reason that American grains can't feed huge chunks of Africa and Asia and all these other countries. It's just about getting over that stuff. I think genetic engineering is going to really start really entering a new phase, especially with AI use. I think we're going to get better crop varieties than we've ever gotten before. They're going to be able to do a lot more things than the first kind of Roundup resistant strains and stuff that went out the first wave, the new wave of more nutritionally sound products, more resistant to drought, hardier products with bigger yields. I think those are all on their way, and they're coming. They're doing really cool research with wheat and stuff in, I don't know, Oklahoma and things like that, where you're oh, this grain is not only better for all these other reasons, but also it just has a vitamin that you couldn't get anywhere else. So all that, or it doesn't have gluten in it, so you can enjoy your bread or your wheat taste your bread without your gluten.
Let's go.
So that's really the industry is slow to embrace technology, but it is embracing it. It will. I think we're doing so much with updating logistics with transportation and how that's tracked and how that's monitored. It's so much more traceable than it is, right? It was 10 years ago. You can now follow your barge as it moves down the river and know exactly where it is and exactly what it's doing, and you can track them all. Same with your rail car shipments, same with your trucking shipments, all that's there. And I think ultimately, as we embrace this technology, no matter how slow it is, it will give a lot of it will give a lot of advantages to our industry, and we'll be able to do more with less, which is ultimately what we have to do just because of the demographics in rural America right now.
Love it. Especially if we're talking about those facilities that don't have a lot of staff there all the time. They're kind of rotating around. You probably should think about automating your housekeeping so we can help.
We can do that.
Well, yeah, because when I first saw your product, I think I was relatively new to the industry. It was probably 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. You guys weren't doing a ton of marketing towards the industry yet, but I always thought it was a really cool thing, because the idea of getting rid of dust or controlling dust before it even really flies into the air, that just makes sense to me, especially in giant cavernous buildings with a bunch of pipes and conveying equipment that just goes up into the ceiling. What are you going to do? You got to get a guy in a scissor lift up there to wipe it down, or hit it with a broom until it all falls on their head and kicks up dust everywhere. Like, oh, that sounds like a terrible idea. So whenever I see like a solution like yours, I'm like, oh, this just makes sense to me. Like this, I'm obviously not the one buying it or anything like that, but I'm like, this just seems like a no-brainer to me. Why wouldn't you do this? Why wouldn't you save the man hours? Why wouldn't you keep your facility clean? Especially because the part of my job I hate the most and that I have to do is every time I have to report on someone dying, on some kind of tragedy, someone getting hurt. I don't like writing those things. I do write them in part because I think it's crucial as we are so busy and we're so overstretched and we're trying to do so much. It's so easy to let those little things slip. It's so easy to oh, we'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it next week, whatever. And the fact that can lead to a tragedy is something that everyone because no one wants to make that call. Everyone should be considering that in their head. No one wants to have to call the wife of an employee and tell her that he's not coming home that night. Like, no one wants to do that. No one wants to explain that to their community. Yeah. No one wants to explain it to families. No one wants to explain that to the government. Right. So, and every single dust explosion, every single grain entrapment, it might be inconvenient to do, but they are all preventable accidents.
Yeah.
They do not have to happen.
Yeah.
And it is negligent to say that they do. Yeah. Or to be like that these are unavoidable things, because they are. They just they take work to avoid.
And I think it is important that you continue to write those articles and post that information, because if not, those folks are just dying in vain. So at a minimum, I hope we can learn from that and try to make a better path forward.
Yeah, and it's amazing to me, a lot of this conversation we've been talking about, we're really good at the producing and then manufacturing side of it. Mm-hmm. And so much so that we're dealing with issues of stretched manpower and being able to handle the logistics and storage of it. And so it seems like we could, let's dial back a little bit and fix some of these issues. But no, our culture is go, go, go. And so, I mean, that's where we feel like we fit a good spot of if this is what we're going to do, we're going to help you in the middle of it. We're going to automate this thing so you can do these other things.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. But it is just it's wild to think we're overproducing and causing these issues at the same time.
Yeah, we move so much grain. It's staggering, unimaginable amount of grain. It's insane to think how good agriculture has done from 60 years ago when we thought our max population was going to end at 1 billion people. We wouldn't be able to feed anymore. Into today where we have, 8 billion or whatever there is out there, and we're expecting 10 by 2050. We've done amazing things, and and part of that is that drive of the industry to keep doing more, keep getting better. But it has to be balanced with the idea that we have to do it right. We have a responsibility to our employees and our communities to make sure to do it right and make sure everyone's okay at the end.
Well, on that note, all right, as we kind of wrap things up here, if somebody new is coming into the industry, a recent grad, or maybe it's just even a high school grad, and they're getting their first job, they're getting started in the industry, what's some advice you would leave them with and say, here you go?
Get involved in stuff. One of the things that I think as I get older and my time in the industry is longer, I see more and more people retire and go on to finish, do that. That's great. But it also seems like the people that are in are less involved or less active or less doing stuff. And you will only find benefits from being a part of associations, from talking to other people in your field, from learning that way. Not only for your career, because the grain industry, the feed industries, they're very incestuous groups. People move around, but they move around to slightly different companies, and you see them. So it's good for that part of it. You should always know people so you can go somewhere else if a job opens up or you need to, your facility closed down, whatever happens. So that would be a really big one, is to get involved in it. And then this is a slightly selfish one, but also learn your industry. Like it's very easy to be like, this is my day-to-day task. And so this is what I'm going to do. But the more knowledge you arm yourself with, the more willing you are to learn and learn new things, the more you'll advance in your career. And this is a career that you have. It is an older industry, so you have a lot of runway with promotions and moving up in the company going forward. If you put in the effort and you show you are hungry for that experience and for that knowledge and for that advancement.
Yeah, like we've already talked about, it's a very accepting industry.
Yep.
They're hungry for new folks to get excited and come in and get involved. And it even in that small ground floor opportunity, it's a piece of something bigger. There's a whole lot more going on. It is the national food chain and even the international food chain that they're helping contribute to.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those easy ones for, I mean, if you're going into this field and getting your start, it's easy to see your impact.
Yeah.
I'm feeding the world through this.
Yeah. May feel like it's pushing a broom, but
I know.
It is. It's important.
It is a good mention for when you are hiring people, when you are looking for talent. Like, what are the generations coming up? They're looking for an opportunity to advance and move in the career. They're looking for an industry that means something, and that feeding the world is a noble goal. It is a noble thing to do. So as long as you're, taking care of your facilities and you're treating your employees well, like it should be an attractive field to younger people coming up. It really should. It's all about marketing and how we push it.
That's exactly right.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, hey, we really appreciate you. We're going to land this plane, but thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you for your commitment to the industry and how you cover it and getting the word out. It's been a blast hanging out with you and covering what's going on right now and talking shop about the feed and grain world. But thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Yeah. And where can people find you?
You can find my content at feedandgrain.com. I just finished our newsletter. So I do that every day. So you can find that stuff. If you ever need to get in touch with me, you can email me anytime at skilger, Kilger, at wattglobal.com. Happy to hear from anyone in the industry who wants to talk about anything, especially if you have problems. Like, let me know what you're dealing with, what we should be covering. It's always nice.
Love that. And your podcast?
My podcast is the Feed and Grain Podcast. It's not nearly as cleverly named as yours, but yeah, that is out there. You can find it on major podcasting platforms or the website.
Awesome. We'll put a link up for it so you can like and subscribe.
Sounds good.
And find Steven there. All right. That about does it.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Taylor.
All right. We'll see you next time on air.